Hello, welcome to another episode of SaaS Scaled. I'm here with Ben Sebree, and he's the Senior Vice President of Research and Development at CivicPlus. Ben, welcome to this podcast.
Thanks for having me, Armand.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and if you can also give us a little bit of history that how it started, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm the Senior Vice President of Research and Development at CivicPlus. So I run our hosting, our security, and our engineering teams. And we have been around in the industry for quite a while, over 27 years at this point. We started out as a company. It was pretty small, based out of Manhattan, Kansas, doing web CMSs, building websites for local government. And so we really built our own bespoke platform that was our Civic Engage platform that is specific to local governments and the needs that they have within their constituencies and everything. We've since expanded way beyond just websites to all kinds of different resident and compliance solutions from our civic experience side of the house. We're focusing on residents and their interactions with local government in order to optimize and create those frictionless interactions, as well as build as much trust between government and their residents as possible. We also have a compliance solutions side that we have as well, which focuses a lot on freedom of information workflows, things like archival of social media and other media that governments might need to have on record for retention reasons. And then we also have some accessibility solutions as part of our compliance solutions as well, to make sure that all people have access to the information that they need from their governments.
That's fantastic. I like that kind of natural growth, because then it allows you to deeply understand the exact needs that they have, and then how to serve people around that. So that's fantastic. Now, with regard to really what you guys do, I think there are different aspects we can look at it. But one aspect is whatever service that you help local government offer to civilians, and also everything that you maybe even offer on your side on their behalf. Either way, it comes with some factors to understand how impactful it is, how useful it is. And what is the process on your side to really make sure that what you do, they are going to use it, and everyone, as you said, can use it? It just needs to be, and how do you measure that? Do you normally look at the data analytically using some technologies? What is the process on that side to really see the user adoption at the end of the day?
It's a great question. So we go through pragmatic processes from our product strategy organization to really understand the voice of the market before we start really pulling on any work within our engineering teams to start building. So we work very closely with clients, our customers, and opportunities that we have in the pipeline to truly understand kind of what the pain points are that people are coming to us looking to have solved. And then we look at it from a standpoint of there's a lot of different ways that we can solve this problem. So let's really focus and fall in love with the problem that we're trying to solve, and then we'll build something around it instead of coming with a solution for a problem that doesn't necessarily exist. Then on the back end of all of that, once we've launched something into market, we leverage various different analytics tools, whether it's like a Google Analytics or a Pindo or something like that, in order to really see the user adoption that we have, both from a municipal staff standpoint of the employees that are actually into the software, interacting with residents or doing their day jobs, as well as other front-end type analytics like Google Analytics to track resident interactions and how many resident visits that we're getting to our products as well.
So we live in a different time now that we were living 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, of course, it was different than 20 years ago. So we are moving forward with technology much faster than ever before. And these technologically advanced systems, mostly they are in charge of automation in one way or the other.
Hmm.
and in charge of making things easier, making things maybe more cost effective, but also more specialized. If you look at the cloud, the way we do it today, maybe 10, 20 years ago, we had to host everything, right?
Hmm.
So, and then maybe even before there was no even option to host anything. So we are going forward with that. So as a result, probably now you can automate a lot of things much better than before, and you can help also local governments to be more efficient. How do you see that in kind of new modern cloud age, the new cloud, the modern cloud that we have been, working with it in the last maybe 5 to 10 years in a very, very kind of, secure way that before it was not the case. People were concerned about data being in the cloud. Now they feel like if it's on AWS, probably safer and the data is more secure, then they keep the data on their side and manage it by themselves, for example. So many of these are just, getting better and getting to the point that everyone can use it in a much better way, more standardized
Hmm.
from security, from any aspect. There are more compliances and more rules that apply from data privacy, the same thing. So how do you see the efficiency has been translated in making to empowering or making local governments work better, more efficient? Have you seen that as a continuous trend that you see, and in the future, even local governments can do way better and more than ever before? How do you see that trend? And then, of course, after that, we can get to the point that now we are entering in a new age with this generative AI that is very hot topic now.
Hmm.
And how do you see that may impact even pushing that forward?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So I see kind of the shifts in technology really helping out in a few different ways. One of them is just accessibility to information and scalability. So as municipalities get larger, as they have to serve more and more services online, leveraging something like the cloud technologies really empowers you to be able to have, 24/7 access, be able to hit large loads of visitors on your sites. So maybe you're hosting a big event, and there's a lot of people who are trying to sign up for something. Just the ability of the cloud to really scale out really well is a huge benefit to municipalities that we haven't really seen in the past with all of that. And then it's also, from a security standpoint, it's nice to have cloud providers that maintain those like SOC certifications and security certifications that are out there. But it is also important to note that it is a shared responsibility between the municipality, the vendor of the SaaS software solution, as well as the hosting provider, to really ensure everything is secure throughout that entire kind of chain of events that happen when you're leveraging different software. So it allows you to take advantage of large R&D dollars of those hosting providers to make sure that you have good secure infrastructure, and then good training on your part to your employees to really ensure that your employees have safe practices with the privacy of folks' information as well. And then where the technology is really changing, it's an incredibly exciting time out there right now when it comes to generative AI, because we're just seeing the technology change leaps and bounds in a matter of weeks, not even months or years or anything like that. It's we could probably count the days between some next big innovation coming out at the moment. So I think where that really creates a lot of benefit for our clients, our customers, and the um, just the industry in general of technology, and even outside of technology, just on people who are doing work, is it's really changing us from creators, where we have to create 100% of the content ourselves, to curators, to where we're able to get a huge efficiency boost by saying, hey, I want to draft a memo for X, Y, and Z. It can draft you a first draft of that memo, and then you become a curator of the content. You proofread it, you make sure it's accurate, you change it into your own voice, and then you're able to really create a lot of really nice efficiencies for your day-to-day work within leveraging technologies like a generative AI.
So this is a question personally I'm very curious about because this is my personal kind of experience working with different, um, websites that sometimes, I use. Uh, Smartphones are getting more,
Hmm.
common, of course, right? Nowadays, I see many people may not even touch their desktop
Hmm.
computer or may not even use a laptop, but all the time they're just using this powerful device in their, hand and just using it. And I do remember in many years ago when the internet started and everything, many of these websites, when I was trying to really go there with other devices, even other browsers, it was limiting me to a particular setting. From your experience, since you are in the middle of these kind of developments for local governments, I would love to know that do you see the trend being in a way that mobile devices are being more than ever supported? And now, from your perspective, is it like 50% we are there to really support? Or from your perspective, it's still, there are work to do and still you are counting mostly on bigger screens and computers rather than mobile devices?
It's a great question. So where we see our front end, our customers who are residents of the different municipalities, we see a majority of their traffic coming from mobile devices. So when
Mm-hmm.
we're building applications and resident-facing user interfaces, we ensure that it is mobile responsive, at least, so that they can have a really nice experience interacting with their local government, leveraging our technology to do that. And it also becomes about accessibility at the same time. So when we talk about accessibility and compliance, it's not just about those with disabilities and empowering them to have access to data. It's about empowering folks of all socioeconomic statuses to be
Mm-hmm.
able to have access to that information as well. And we have a lot of municipalities that are clients of ours that will tell us stories about how there might be one smart home for an entire family, and that's their only
Mm-hmm.
access to the internet that they have. So if we don't build software and solutions that empowers them to have access to that information, we're leaving a large chunk of residents out of the equation of being able to have access to that information. So mobile responsiveness, being optimized for multiple devices, as well as being EDA compliant, is huge for us to be able to ensure that we're empowering our customers to serve their customers. When it comes to more uh, municipal staff, we try to build everything as mobile responsive as possible, but there are some workflows that are just a little bit difficult for you to do on a mobile device. So we do have some specific user interfaces that are a lot more workflow heavy and review heavy and stuff like that, that are built with a bigger screen in mind than just a mobile device.
Makes sense. So definitely, when I say mobile device, I'm just talking about the end users, right?
Mhm.
So the power users, they still actually would be happier if you give them more power, more flexibility, and they're absolutely fine to use a bigger screen and more pixels. But
Mhm.
you're right. So when it comes to very end users, now you touched on the surface of another big topic that was more about making things self-service. When you say, workflow, that means you are really making them, enabling them, empowering these maybe power users, not necessarily
Mhm.
developers, to really go there and change the workflow. And the more you make it, um, I would say no code, low code, the way you make it easier for non-technical people, but it's still you give them enough power, then more power users that probably in the market you serve are more available than just counting on developers to take care of everything. That's a big part of it. Have you seen that kind of low code, no code, and self service as a trend that you have seen? It's getting more and more into the kind of things that you do and making it available to your
Mhm.
customers on the local government level?
Yeah, we found a lot of really nice benefits to having a low code platform. LCAPs is what they're called in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and so we have one that's called Civic Optimize that we have in our own toolkit, and it's a fantastic tool for being able to take bespoke workflows, tie them into other processes, and really kind of innovate around those,
Mm-hmm.
create efficiencies, replace paper processes, and just really leverage it as an automation tool. within municipalities. What we've found is with different client bases, we might have client bases that have um, programmers on
Mhm.
staff that might be want to doing some scripting and stuff like that within the tools themselves. So it is a low code tool, and we try to make it as no code as possible, but it still does have that SDK
Sure.
that comes with it if folks want to leverage that. But then we also try to take things and make them as WYSIWYG as you can, which is what you see is what you get. Drag and drop functionality for different integrations between systems. We have an integration hub that leverages what we call nodes, which you can drag a node out like Power BI or Microsoft Power Tools to integrate directly with our products in a very non-technical way. And then kind of all behind the scenes, it's taking all the webhooks and JSON and everything responses that we're getting from those and taking action upon it. But from an end user perspective, it doesn't feel very technical how you're building it out.
Um, Now used to be, I'm talking about now many decades ago,
Hmm.
um, there is a database, let's say named Oracle, and everyone in the world and all of the, big databases, everyone is using Oracle. So that's the kind of a few choices in the market, and all of them are relational databases, and all of them are rows and columns. Um, and then you go there and just use one of these very well-known databases, and every data goes to one of these databases and done. This is not true anymore, right? So now you have plenty of options. You have NoSQL, you have SQL, you have relational, you have JSON data. Some data is not even, structured. Now you have a lot of unstructured data. So what is the landscape on the data side that you see as a trend within that market that you guys serve? Are they using some particular data sources automatically because that's the norm of the market for that market, or you don't really you see every type of data storage repository that you can imagine, and it's very, very fragmented?
We see a lot of different things within our market. It just depends on the customer themselves and kind of where they are on their journey of modernization. Once in a while we run into somebody who's still running an AS400, and sometimes we're hearing of really cool cloud adoption and generative models and things that municipalities are leveraging to really serve their residents and take a look at how do we address vandalism or graffiti or making sure that folks who are in underserved communities have fresh batteries in their fire alarms and items like that. And we found that we have one client in particular. He does a really good job of that, and they call it Operation Clean Sweep. And they go through and they just really go in and they just build up, weed people's yards. They replace batteries in those different smoke detectors, and they leverage that with a lot of the data that they see. And they're looking at both kind of hot spots in that data as well as cold spots in that data, because no calls coming in a certain area is also kind of something that might mean that there is something that needs to be fixed, or maybe we just need to educate people on the services that are available. So I think from a data perspective, you have a lot of different silos of information
Mhm.
throughout every customer that we have. We have a lot of different styles of information within our own organization as well. And there's really nice technologies out there right now that let you take very structured information and very unstructured information and create insights based
Mhm.
on those. Generative AI is a fantastic tool that can be used to take a lot of that unstructured content and create some structure around it by it figuring out what the intent is that you're asking, going through and looking at all this different training data that it has, and then pulling back something that is what is hopefully coherent within the models that we have built out. So,
And back to that topic that you mentioned, the AI, um, what do you think, might be the challenges of using it responsibly and in a way that, we can make sure that, you expose it, but at the same time, it's going to do well for,
yeah,
people.
yeah. There's especially working in government, you want to do everything you can to build trust with your residents. So really having good ethical practices and policies in place for how you leverage AI within local government, or how your vendors are leveraging AI within their technologies that you are using, is incredibly important. So data privacy and security risks are huge ones. So encrypting data at rest that is sensitive information, maybe even using synthetic data, or anonymizing some of the sensitive information that you have
Mhm.
before it goes into those models would help really with a lot of that.
Mhm.
And then there's bias and discrimination risks that come with training data as well,
Mhm.
where you want to ensure that you understand all of the data that you have. Does it reflect what your morals and ethics are?
Mhm.
And if it doesn't, that means you might need to take a look at the data that you have, figure out where there might be bias in it from anything historical that may have happened, and over undersampling data specifically to counteract that potential bias that could be in the training data, or have an algorithm that can search and potentially flag things that might be um, bias or potential ethical issues within that data itself. So I think that's really important. And then really being able to transparently explain how the AI model is being leveraged, because AI and the algorithms that are used behind it can be so complicated. It is really
Mhm.
difficult to explain in terms that everyone can really understand what is happening behind the scenes with that model. And with wanting to build the trust with your residency that you have, you really want to ensure that that is an incredibly transparent and explainable model that you're leveraging, so that there's no ambiguity as to what's happening behind the
Mhm.
scenes.
It used to be, you go to a city, if you're a business especially, you go to a city that has enough and offers enough infrastructure. And of course, when those businesses come into those cities, then people come because they create jobs and then
Mhm.
the city expands. Nowadays, the digital infrastructure is also part of it. It's not just the airport you have, it's not just the highways you have, it's not just the electricity you offer that's stable and everything, and the water system, but also, what the city offers with regard to the digital infrastructure. So I recently moved to Austin, Texas, and I could see that, for example, as a, just somebody who's living, who has moved here, then I need to move, I need to register now my
Mhm.
car. I need to do these kind of things and a lot of stuff that you have to do. And honestly, looking back at my previous move, that was some years ago, and I lived, maybe way back in DC area for 24 years, and then after that in California, and now moving to Texas, that how great improvements have been made by cities and everything. How now the digital transformation, I can see it as a person that has that kind of first-hand experience, that you go there and you just wanted to register, for example, whatever, your car or something, and then all of a sudden you see, oh, I did it this way some years
Mhm.
ago, and did it for my father in Florida. I did this some years ago. I did it for, and now obviously that is happening, and then that becomes by itself the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure. And if the maybe different cities, they are different, not just from
Mhm.
physical infrastructure, but they're different from each other, the way that they look at the digital world.
Mhm.
And I think the ones that are smarter and do better on the digital side, they can gain a lot uh, during this particular, economy. So that's really maybe another aspect. Have you seen that kind of perspective and that vision happening now? So in the cities, counties, and then when you go there now, they are thinking on both sides, not just thinking about the physical infrastructure, but also they are starting now staffing and thinking and strategizing and planning on the digital side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some cities that do some really cool integrations with some of our products around different smart city initiatives that they have. So a great example would be using flood sensors
Mm-hmm.
in order to integrate directly with our. We have a 3-in-1 application, C-Click Fix, and it will automatically create a work ticket if a flood sensor gets tripped, for somebody to go out and see if there's flooding or something that's going on in that area. And for municipalities that have a lot of flooding, that can be a really nice benefit to them to be able to proactively get out there before a resident has ever even submitted a complaint that there might be flooding or something in those different areas. We've also seen some municipalities get some really nice efficiencies out of leveraging chatbots with artificial intelligence behind them in order to really help with a lot of those questions that are coming in. So we've seen municipalities who are able to cut some of their operational costs by about 30% by leveraging a chatbot. And that chatbot can answer about 80% of the incoming routine questions that are coming in, such as, I just moved here, what all do I need to do within 30, 60, 90 days of moving to this new city? Whether it's registering a car, whether it's updating your license, if it's a new state or something like that. And it can be able to give you the information you need to self-serve so that you can have it as quick as possible. You don't have to get in your car and drive anywhere to ask somebody in person. And you can interact with government kind of in your own way by doing that.
Fantastic. So from your perspective, you look at these and then you say, okay, if I wanted to, in my mind, set my priorities and say, these are the things that in the next 5 years that I would like to see improving, changing. I would focus, if I wanted to decide for these cities to become more digital, become more automated, become more self-service, become more in any way that at the end it benefits people over there. What would be the main initiatives that you would think of and you would say these are the top 5, top 3, or the single top item in my mind that I would focus on for the next 5 years? And I think it has the most potential to really help people.
Yeah, I think there's so many different things that you can choose as an answer to that. So it's a fun question. I think cybersecurity is probably number one. It's always an arms race to ensure that you're staying one step ahead of people who want to spread misinformation or break trust within local government. So cybersecurity, I think, is definitely at the top of the list. I also think really being able to bring accessibility to folks as well, whether it's through ADA or through different devices and interaction points. Some people want to walk in person and have that in-person interaction. Some people never want to get up off their couch. And so we need to be able to really allow residents to engage and get efficient access to information in the way that they want to engage with their local municipalities. And that will really kind of allow us to help really build more and more trust within government and their constituencies. So as we've seen some correlated data that we've done through surveys and other information that other vendors that we've worked with, that the more and more digital services that municipalities are supplying to the residents, the higher the trust is. Now, it looks like it's correlation right now. We're hoping to prove at some point that there is a causality between that. But having more and more ways of interacting with your government in the way that the residents want to, and access to that information really helps, in my opinion, to build a lot of that trust.
Fantastic. So I would like to ask you, as my last question, if you have any book that you would like to recommend, something that you liked it and you think people may enjoy.
Yeah, I really, from a business standpoint, I really enjoyed the book, The Power of Little Ideas. It's by David Robertson, and it's really about taking a mature product line and creating value by innovating around it as an ecosystem. So it really goes into some really nice examples of ways that people have innovated around even something like Lego in order to create more value for Lego and therefore more sales and more enjoyment that the folks who are using Lego can have, whether it's creating a backstory for it, whether it's changing the way that it's delivered, or just some of the different ways that folks interact with it. And so has a ton of different examples in there of different ways that folks have done this innovating around a core competency. And so it's really nice for established players to make sure that they're really focusing on providing new value and constantly innovating without cannibalizing their bread and butter market.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Ben, for being with us. I enjoyed speaking with you and wish you all the best.
I appreciate it, Armand.